So there's a couple of ways that you can interpret the song Kimiをのせて from the film Laputa Castle in the Sky. One is a fairly simplistic interpretation where it's just about the characters that are in the film, Pazu and Shita, but on another level it's much more closely related to Miyazaki Hayao himself, the director of the film, and his personal life. We'll come back and have a look at how that works after this. First, let me play you my translation of the song, and then we'll get into what it's all about.
Out on the horizon, there's something shining bright. The place you tried to hide, some place and in some time. There are so many lights, warm by feeling inside. There because there's one out there that's yours alone. So put into your back. Bread, I'll meet you there. It's time for us to go. The burning love that your father left, that gentle gaze shows your mother is not there. The world it turns around, hides you from me now. Shining of your eyes, sparkling of the light. The world it turns around, guided through the night. Sometime we'll meet again, we'll ride together. So put into your bag the knife and put a lamb. Piece of bread, I'll meet you there. It's time for us to go. The burning love that your father left, that gentle gaze shows your mother is not there. From me now, shining of your eyes, the sparkling of the light. The world it turns around, you're riding through the night. Sometimes we'll meet again, we'll ride together.
So the name of the song Kimiをのせて comes from to carry someone or putting somebody on my back, might be a good translation in English, and it comes from the line in the song 地球は回る君をのせて. So the 地球は回る means that the world, the earth is spinning, and kimi o nosete, it's carrying you along, or it's close to our English phrase of like actually actively putting you on your back. So it's like the world is putting somebody on its back and carrying it along. So you can see that this relates to the film itself, where Laputa is this floating world in the clouds. But it also relates to the real world, which, you know, our Earth that we live on is a ball that's spinning through space. So in a way, it's carrying us on its back. And it's closely related to this idea of flight, which you can't really find a Miyazaki film that doesn't relate to flight in some way. And this is interesting because Miyazaki Hayao came from a family that his father had this company that was making fighter airplanes during the Second World War. including, iconic fighter planes like the Zero fighter plane, which is infamous and famous around the world for what a good plane it was during the war, but also, it was used in kamikaze bombings, and, it was a plane that struck fear into the Allies. So I think you've got to see everything that Miyazaki does through the prism of this relationship to war in some ways, because he was born in 1941. He's a war child, and his whole family was involved in creating these things as part of the war effort. And you really get that sense of aeroplanes and flight just permeating all his films. And you can see it really strongly in films like Porco Rosso, where it's all about, fighter pilot aces, and it focuses very much on these aeroplanes that they're flying. But you can see it in Kiki's delivery service, where she's flying around on a broomstick, or you can see it in Totoro with the cat bus, which is zooming through the air. And of course, there's a lot of aeroplanes in Laputa, Castle in the Sky, and it focuses around a floating world and this stone called the Hikoseki, the stone, the flight stone, which enables, this substance enables the whole world to fly. So you can see this juxtaposition of Miyazaki on the one hand seeing flight as being this wonderful, beautiful thing that allows humanity to raise itself up above the everyday world, and you can tell that in some way he loves the engineering of these aeroplanes and flight, all kinds of flight devices, and he sees it as a majestic thing, but also as something that is able to rain down terror on the people below. So there's this double-edged sword here. Now, the other interesting thing about the song is that the song and the film came out around 2 years after Miyazaki's mother passed away in 1983. And you can see that that's another theme that runs through all of his films, is these sort of motherly figures, and most strongly I suppose in Totoro, where you see the mother that's sick through most of the film, and that parallels very obviously with Miyazaki's own life, where his mother was sick for around a 10-year kind of period after the war. She eventually died in 83. So you can see that this whole film is sort of pining towards his mother, and this song very much is pining for his mother. So it's, in some ways it's about the characters singing to each other, but in some ways it's about Miyazaki actually singing to his mother. So you can see that in lines like "Ano chihei sen kagayaku no wa dokoka ni kimi o kakushiteru kara." Out there on the horizon, the reason there's a shining on the horizon, the reason that it's shining is because you're out there somewhere. So you can take that as Pazu singing to Shita, but you can also take it as Miyazaki looking out on the world and the light that's there, and thinking about his recently deceased mother. And he does sort of reference both parents a lot throughout the film and in the song. So the chorus goes, "Otou-san ga nokoshita atsui omoi, okaasan ga kureta ano manazashi." The burning thought left by the father, the look the mother gave. And this refers to, in the film, the father who has passed away, has spent most of his life trying to find this magical world called Laputa, and no one believed him, and they thought he was a bit of a charlatan. So the son is trying to resurrect the honor of his father. And "Okaasan ga kureta ano manazashi," so that look that the mother had. So you can see there's this concept of, I suppose, what would be called filial piety, which is a pretty strong theme in a lot of Asian thought, that you've got to have this love for your parents. And the way that he's chosen to express this, "Otou-san ga nokoshita atsui omoi." So you've got atsui, which is a kanji that has the fire radical in it, and you'll see all through this song is references to lights and fire and brightness. And I should point out that Miyazaki himself mainly wrote the lyrics to the song, but it was also edited by the composer Hisaishi Jo. So we've got a lot of lines in the song that are referring to light in some way. The line we just mentioned about the light out on the horizon. We've got "Kagayaku hitomi kirameku akari. So the shining pupil and the sparkling lamp. And indeed in the film you've got lots of references to light in various ways. So you've got the robots that's shining laser beams out of its eyes, and you've got the shining flight stone and the lights that are shining across the sky, showing you the way to Laputa. And overall the film does have quite a bright tone to it. So it's interesting that for a film that has a lot of longing and this feeling of love for a deceased mother and that dual-edged sword of love and hate of flight and flying machines, you almost get the feeling that Miyazaki is trying to compensate for that by having a very bright feel to it, and in this song including lots of imagery that is very bright or shining or shimmering. So I think it's a beautiful song. In some ways it takes like a god's eye view of this shimmering, shining world and of these characters that are longing for each other, and it could be the characters in the film of Pazu and Shita, or it could be Miyazaki himself and his love of his family and his recently deceased mother. Hope that shed some light on it for you. Please subscribe if you're interested in Japan and Japanese language and translations, etc. And we'll see you next time.